Hi, I'm Mark Sitt from Crocker Farm Auction, and I'm here to talk to you today about a fantastic example of American folk art that we received for our November 3rd Stoneware and Redware auction. As you can see, it's a temperance jug or snake jug, typified by this fantastic, crazy group of snakes curling around the spout. And actually here it has the unusual treatment of a rattlesnake curled around two applied molded frogs. You can see the rattle on the end of the tail there. Can you get that? Kind of an interesting touch. And it has this cool depiction of a snake actually biting the frog's head. He's trying to devour the frog right there. And these frogs you see on here are very similar to the molded frogs that you find on Pottery frog inkwells. However, they're a little bit smaller than those. But you can see this piece is just decorated, almost as much as possible. This side has this great incised map highlighted in cobalt with a lot of important towns from the south central U.S. incised into it. You have Memphis and Bill Clinton's hometown of Little Rock right here, and Benton and Hot Springs, Arkansas, also Fort Smith and St. Louis and Poplar Bluff and the Ohio River and the Mississippi River. On this side, there's this really interesting, almost kaleidoscopic incised design, this diamond cross-hatching which sort of resembles snakeskin, and we aren't really sure exactly what the potter's intentions were here, but it creates a really visually appealing design. And then all across the body is heavily brushed cobalt, really brightly brushed cobalt slip. And then over top of that cobalt is manganese striation, which is highly unusual. When it blends with the manganese, it produces this really interesting purplish effect. Besides that decoration, you can see there's lots of incised strokes, almost resembling water or something like that, carved into the clay all around this incised medallion here and this incised medallion here, and it's actually carved in after the cobalt is applied. So it produces a sgraffito-like effect where we have this negative space created which is carved into the cobalt itself. And the manganese decoration you can see is also on the snakes and on the frogs with heavy banding. This piece came out of a fabulous American Stoneware collection. It came from Barry Cohen in the early 1990s. It was bought out of his collection, and Barry Cohen, of course, was one of the foremost collectors of American Stoneware. Many of the very best pieces of American Stoneware came out of Barry Cohen's collection, including the punch bowl that the American Folk Art Museum owns, that was made by a member of the Crolius or Remy family, and the fantastic heart-shaped inkwell that it was made by William Crolius in the 1770s. This piece, you can see, is just a great example of what a potter could do with the piece and the various techniques he could use. Not only do we have incising, but we also have hand throwing, obviously, with the pot itself, the flask itself, and we have molding with these frogs here, and hand modeling with the snakes, brush decoration with two different colors, and even sgraffito-like designs along the blue here. And these jugs are typically attributed to pottery, sometimes Texarkana pottery. Of course, Texarkana was largely influenced by the Kirkpatrick brothers of Anne, Illinois, and so it's difficult to distinguish between the two. But judging by certain aspects of this piece, the rattle on the end of the snake's tail, the light color of the clay, the fact that we have a map more south-central U.S. than farther up north, as you would find on Anna pottery examples. This might be a Texarkana piece. It could also be an Anna piece. We aren't sure which, but it's just a really fabulous example of an ambitiously decorated example of what somebody could do with clay during the late 19th century.